So first of all, welcome to my interrogation room. I think you're the third people I've had in. I've had Ben from Cerberus Studios, and I've had, no, actually the fourth. I've had Will and Alex from War on Terror, and then I had Ali and Will, Alex, I think, from the Battle Box. They're just doing the.
Oh yeah, we were having a chat with them at the expo, I think.
Yeah, some nice lads they are. They sent me the first one out, which was really nice, really good box. So yeah, just welcome, and thanks for taking time coming and talking to me about your product. So the people that don't know, just introduce yourselves and what you do and who you represent.
Yeah, I'm Chris Murdoch. I'm the owner of Darkstar Minis, or Darkstar Hobbies, as it's more recently known. Yeah, I'm Sheffield, male, 34. I don't know. What do you put in an intro these days? I don't know.
I'll go next. I'm going to go higher though, because on this video I look like I'm shorter than Chris, and in real life I'm taller than Chris. So
I don't
want people to, for 1 second, to think that I'm shorter than Chris. No, Chris is much shorter than me. So I'm Huwy Barber, for those who haven't met me yet. So I basically run the operational side of Darkstar, so I head things up and do all the mill work.
Makes things happen.
Yeah. So talk that. I just want to say, I know yourselves, some of the people on the stand at UK Games Expo, and they were nice enough to give me a couple of samples of your paint. So first of all, thanks for doing that. I got you the jade, the sapphire, aquamarine, and then the bright steel, and I never know how to pronounce the is it Baroque, and then the midnight shroud. That midnight shroud is some of the best. That's one of the best shades I've ever used.
What does it remind you of?
Say again, sorry.
What does it remind you of? Does it remind you of a shade that has previously been used in your past, perhaps?
Yeah. Yes.
If you get yourself a little thimble and sample it, it tastes exactly the same.
It does.
It's the exact same bouquet.
I'm a brush licker, so I know the kind of taste. So yeah. So just I think I thank you for giving me the samples, and they are, as I say, I'm using them on quite a lot of my commission work now, because they do go on smoothly and really nice. Even painted one of my towel in it. So
fantastic. Yeah, I saw a picture of that crop up in my feed the other day. It looks really, really nice.
Yeah,
really solid.
Yeah, it just, I mean, she's a character model, so painting her in them unique colours makes her stand out from the rest of the unit, the army. And I kind of painted my tower like a Space Wolvesy light blue, and that metallic almost matches the pastel colours I've done, but in a metallic version. And it was, I was well chuffed when I finished it, and it turned out like that.
Brilliant.
So you've done some good stuff, and I've also done the standard Terminator in.
Oh yeah.
In the blue.
Oh, that shine looks brilliant. I thought that was highlighted a second there. I thought you'd have some incredible OSL lighting.
No, that's your sapphire blue with your midnight shroud, with a bit of aquamarine, and then your bright steel to highlight. That was it. Yeah. And they blend really well without they go on nice and thin when you're trying to do your highlighting and whatnot. So, but no, I'm well impressed. I need to save my pennies to get the full set now.
But a few people saying that recently. Post Expo, I think a lot of people are looking at the full set now.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I saw your little samples. Look, I'm gutted I didn't have enough money on the day to buy the the case and stuff on the day. But when I walked past your stand and I was looking at it, and the lad on the till, the first thing he said to me is, "It covers your models in one go through the airbrush," and I was like, "No, it don't." And the other lad sat down painting, and he goes, "No, it does." And then I saw him putting on a brush, and I was like, when I saw him using it on a brush and how smooth it was on the brush, I was like, if it's that smooth on a brush, it's got to be good through an airbrush.
Yeah.
And yeah, one thing I didn't get your thinner because you'd already sold out of all your thinner on the day.
That was like 10 times more popular than we predicted, but it was a bit of a mistake on our part. I think everyone buying 1 or 2 paints was going to pick up thinner, weren't they? So
Yeah,
we ran out very, very quickly on the day.
but it was one of them things. Was it the first first place that you've been demoing the paint of that scale?
Yeah, I mean the range has been around for a few years. It was someone I'd been working with in a sort of past life in another business, and he was looking to sort of hand over the torch on it, and I phoned him the day before he was going to phone me and said, "Do you fancy selling it?" And he was like, "I was actually going to ring you tomorrow and ask if you wanted to buy it." So we worked with them for a little while, for a couple of years, and then it just seemed like a good time to transfer it over. I had some great ideas to go with it, and I think he was looking for different projects. Basically, he does a lot of like movie set stuff, and museum dioramas and big scenes and stuff like that. So that was his real passion, and he wanted to go and focus more on that. So it was just good timing, and we loved the product. So let's expand it.
Yeah,
let's go for it.
I can see why you like the product.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was. I think you had a good location where the store was as well. Like I'd quite say you was in a prime location for general footpath, because you're literally on one of the busy crossroads, which is always good.
No, it was completely by accident that we ended up just in that exact spot that was right next to Games Workshop and Colour Forge and all the other big players that were there. We just thought, we'll just sit ourselves down there and happy days. But no, the choice of location was obviously for obvious reasons. We went with that spot, and it sort of paid dividends in terms of getting the brand out to people, getting the range out to people, meeting people like yourself, Scott, and all the other great people that we met over the weekend and got to introduce Darkstar to for the first time, who, like yourselves, are now seeing what a great paint range it is, and just experiencing. I mean, the Terminator that you just showed then with the Sapphire, was it the Sapphire?
Yeah, the Sapphire.
Yeah, I mean, like, it just looks great, like, to sort of echo what Chris said, just seeing it on the camera here. It looks like it's had OSL done to it. It looks like it's got some really good, like, detailing to it. All these gemstone colours and the things that we've done with the range to sort of expand on since we took it and grew it, have really been seized upon by hobbyists and embraced as. The best thing I could sort of describe it as is like a bespoke paint range that fills a sort of a niche void that's been there for people that are wanting something that's a super premium product that just executes itself really well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, looks great, man.
Yeah, one of my regular tuners in, what's he said, Curlard 30k. He's based in the East Midlands. Is there any people in shops in the East Midlands that stock your paints? Because he's intrigued to try them himself.
This is Huey's speciality. He's got a map that lives in his head, in which he knows every store and everyone who owns them, and like their inside leg measurement. It's his party trick.
It's more worrying the inside leg measurement, I think, rather than knowing which stores stock Darkstar. But it's true about the inside leg measurement. I know that. Where about? Are we just anywhere specific, or are we just sort of
East Midlands area?
All right, okay. East Midlands
Well,
area.
while you're having a think, I mean, we're basically at the point with the range where it's about to really push into the retail market. So it's very much been an under the radar range. Lots of really top painters have been using the range, and especially over in the US, it's been incredibly popular. But we've had COVID, we've had lockdowns, there's been stores struggling. Thankfully, it's coming back out now. And I think we're about at the point where we're just going to you're going to see a big surge where this is going to be available in stores up and down the UK, over in the States, into Europe and stuff. But it's, when we display products, we want them to look really good, and having like a custom paint rack designed and stuff like that. It's amazing how much time it takes.
Yeah.
You know, you can be looking at 3 months just to get a prototype through, and then you finally give it the nod and say, yep, off we go. And then they say, yeah, well, we'll see you in 4 months. So it's been quite a fun journey since January so far, hasn't it, I think?
Just a bit.
And then we keep expanding the range, don't we? So every time we get the sample, we're good with it, and then we go, actually, what about? I think people want some more of these washes. I think some people want more of these colours. So, yeah, I think we finally settled on it. But yeah, retail, it should be coming very, very soon. It's in some stores at the moment. There are some of the big online retailers, some brick and mortars that have picked it up. But you'll see it really big over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah. I mean, Darkstar minis are in all sort of the big FLGSs around the country. So we're in a lot of independents as well. But if people are looking to get them, I mean, we have our own website, so you can shop the darkstarmini.co.uk. But for those that are sort of familiar with the hobby scene and FLGSs, things like Wayland Games, the Outpost, Firestorm Games, Element Games, all the sort of big players in terms of the FLGS scene in the UK. You can pick Darkstar up from all of those, or from us directly through the site. But we work with a distributor as well called the Warhol in the UK, so you might have seen them at the expo as well. Scott, they were sort of lingering around the site. So they hold a real good volume of stock and get it out into retailers around the UK. But the great thing about them is they're really passionate about getting it into not just FLGSs and independents, but also the smaller independents, supporting the local hobby scene and getting it out into the best places, so hobbyists can enjoy it. So if people watching this and they're thinking, I want to see these products in my FLGS, whether that be a tiny shop in somewhere or in a bigger city, then just head over to the War Hub. And the guys there will sort out your FLGS and make sure they get a really good deal and get all the key lines in, so you guys can take advantage of it wherever you may be in the UK.
There's a fantastic thing where if you walk into your FLGS and say, I would really like to give you money for this product, the stores are a lot more likely to pick up that range. There's a reluctancy, especially around hobby products, for people to sort of move away. But if you've seen it, you like it, go and tell your local store, because we would love it to just be a product that is in stores left, right, and centre, and supporting the local community. Then at that point,
yeah, I was blown away by the Necrons you had on display when they said it was like these are painted using just our metallics, and I was like, no way.
Yeah, that'd be Isaac who'd done that, and he did a really good job that weekend. He really enjoyed himself.
Yeah, no, I think that them Necrons saying, oh, look at these Necrons, these are painted with just our paints. That's for me, when he showed me the Necrons, it was right, okay, I need to try these. And so doing a bit of commitment myself, I need that speed for metallics. And up until Darkstar, metallics were hit and miss. You'd get one that was good, and then after a while, it wouldn't perform as it used to perform. And
sort of gloop up, go a bit stodgy. You end up with like bits of almost dried paint sometimes in your brush strokes, and you're just like, I didn't want that extra texture on this very smooth piece of shoulder pad. Like, it's the worst thing. It was one of the reasons I fell in love with Darkstar paint so quickly, was because you could just get smooth finishes, and most of the time you put in on large surface areas, they're going to be smooth. They tend to have less detail. If you think about armor plates and things, you really need a smooth paint. You need a paint that goes on thin and that does what it's supposed to without glooping up.
Yeah, well, he was demonstrating that at the expo because he was painting up Imperial Night Monty using the paints.
Yeah.
Whilst people were walking around. Did he finish that?
Yeah, he got, well, no, was it the Acastus that he was doing?
Yeah, it was one of the nights.
Yeah, I think it was the Acastus from Forge World. I'll have to check with him. He has a lot of projects on the go. He does a lot of painting.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that he's got shiny syndrome and gone off to paint an Necron army now off the back of that weekend.
I mean,
actually, another thing that helps with the consistency is the little touch of the agitator that's in the paint as well.
Yeah.
That goes a long way for helping the paint stay consistent.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And it's, you know, again, it's something that sets our paints apart from others that don't come with that. It's a really simple step that a lot of companies miss, but it's a really important step to making sure that you've got a really good, smooth product straight out of the bottle. But, you know, when you're talking about the Necron, Scott, and, you know, how impressed you were with them at the expo and stuff, and only being painted with our paints, but, you know, it's easy to do that when you've got 27 metallics. And we're the only people that have got that variation, that level of variation of metallics, because our paints work completely independently of each other, but mix fluidly with each other as well. I'm no mathematician, but 27 times 27 times 27, whatever the variation is on it, it's in terms of the color combinations that you can get from a metallic. With the level of pigmentation that our paints have is pretty much second to none, and hasn't been replicated anywhere else. So
it's such a comprehensive range, because over the years I've found that mixing metallics to try and make the right metallic you want can be really, really tricky. Especially as a lot of the time there's the pigment and the sort of basis for the pigments between a gold and a silver are so completely different, and then you mix them together and you just end up with this sort of washed out greyish yellow mess, and you're like, I didn't want that. Which is why you've basically got, is it like 6 or 7 different golds within our range? So you've got every gold you could ever want, right through to like a really white silver, right down to a really dark, like almost black silver. So there's the beauty of it is you should never have to mix a metallic if you're using Darkstar, and that means you're going to get really consistent performance. You're going to get the same color every time, and you're going to get really, really smooth finishes.
Yeah, I'm going to say, to add on top of that, then if you add the washes to it, you change the colours. So you say you've got, like, was it 7 golds and you've got 7 washes, you've then got 7 times, so you change it just keeps changing just by using different washes.
We've got 4 washes at the moment, and we've gone for the basics at the moment, but depending on how well received they were going to be would depend on if we kept going and making more and more. They've been incredibly well received. The feedback we're getting constantly is, I want more. So at the moment, you're going to get your 6 or 7 golds. You can combine them with your 4 washers, and you're going to get somewhere between around 25 different combinations. If you go with a 3-stage approach, you can then highlight up to like a dirty highlight, or a really bright highlight, or a worn highlight. It's amazing the results you can get with these paints, really.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say with your washes as well, which I found when I was doing my towel, when they go over the top of your metallics, they actually act like a pin lining as well. So you stab the brush in the line and it just bleeds out, so you don't have to wash the model over. And I'll tell you
Yeah,
what, we did all the painting of my town, no end.
Almost by design.
Yeah.
it's great because it's an acrylic product that behaves like an oil in that
Yeah.
respect. So you've laid down your base coat of your acrylic darkstar paint, whatever metallic that is, out of the 27 that we currently do. And then all the gemstones, that's another 8 colours. So lay down one of those. Once that's fully cured, literally with the wash, it just acts in a capillary fashion. So it is literally, it's almost like you've gloss coated it and you're coming in with a pin wash, an enamel or an oil pin wash. It behaves in the exact same hydrophobic way because of the qualities of the paint. So you're kind of almost saving 2 or 3 steps that you would do if you traditionally went in with something like an oil wash, but without any of the hassle. So from getting getting those models to the table, that time frame is shortened considerably, but the end result is still super premium. So
it also makes your life a lot easier if you're like me. You get halfway through a model and realise you've missed a section that was supposed to be painted a certain way, but you're way past that. And if you want to go for that pin wash finish, you're obviously doing multiple stages before you even get to drop the pin wash in. Well, these basically have that resin setter in them, so you do get a gloss varnish whilst painting your metallics, which is beautiful. It's exactly what you need. So when you go back and realise that you've absolutely missed that section, it's 2 steps. It's paint this on, dab that on, done. So it's a lot quicker process.
So it did. It actually got me when I realised what it was doing with the capillary action. It got me really excited, which is what then pushed me on to do the Terminator. It actually made me giggle a little bit when it just seeped into all the lines on the drones on the towers. Like I needed that like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I remember painting my first tower army and just hating trying to get those lines right, and you're there wiping it off, trying to get rid of it, and then just looks it's very frustrating. But these washers, they just do the job absolutely.
So I think we've covered quite a few questions, digressing on what we're saying. There's one thing that makes your paint stand out, which I've done with the Terminator. There's that magic item you do with a certain cloth.
So the polishable nature of the paint. Sorry, I've just been accosted by Smokey, who's come to join in the in the live Instagram. Smokey,
sponsored by Darkstar Mini.
The official Darkstar Hobbies mascot, Smokey the cat. And going back to what you just said, Scott, polishing cloth, so like a microfiber cloth or like a jeweler's polishing cloth, one of the key USPs of the entire range, which is unique amongst hobby paints. Sorry, I was wiping cat fur off me. Is that that they're polishable. So once they're cured, and this kind of links in back to the capillary effect with the washes, is once they cure, it's a super hard, tough, resilient acrylic shell almost. So then you go in with a microfiber cloth or a jeweler's polishing cloth, and you can buff that finish to a high shine. Obviously, with metallics and all the different iterations of color and tone, hue that you can get with that, just leaves you open to a million different types of again. So it just expands your horizons and lets your imagination go absolutely bonkers with this range of paints, which is already comprehensive, but adding in things like the washes, the fact that you can polish them, the fact that the washes act in a capillary fashion, you've got a limitless possibilities.
The polishing works really well, especially on larger projects as well. So if you've got like a big Arcanaut frigate or something, it's got a giant metal ball on top, being able to polish that and get different finishes and make this one look dirty and this one look really, really clean. Works on vehicles really well, works on larger scale models. If you think of like tank tracks as well, you tend to have this you might put a mud effect on and a little bit of silver's coming through, and actually you can shine that up and use that to get some battle damage on and things. It's amazing what you can do with it. Even with like a low speed Dremel, just put a little buffing tip onto the end and use that. You can really accurately pick out areas. So there's a lot of opportunity to to do something different that, as far as we know, no one else does.
Oh no,
Yeah, I mean,
it's the first time I've known of being able to polish my metallic paints. When I was reading your website after the Games Expo and I saw I could polish it, I was like, I need to paint more so I can try it.
Everyone's suspicious at first. They're like, "How? But what? How does that work? Do I use Mr. Muscle on that or something? Do I use like Mr. Sheen?" Just a nice microfiber cloth.
I've seen of it is, you know, with Chris is talking about, it works really well on large panels, which is, you know, which is absolutely true. But it also works on smaller scales as well. So I've seen really good examples of where people have had bunches of things like War of the Roses minis. So you've got all these guys, 28mm scale, all in silver armor, and traditionally you've just seen it, you know, whether you're washing that down, edge highlighting, whatever you're doing, the end product is dulling down that armor because either it's varnished or it's washed or something's taking the sheen off that. So you can go in before that step, polish these up. You know, the helmet's nice and shiny, the breastplate's shiny, bit of battle damage in there. You've shined over the top of what you've done already, and it just looks absolutely phenomenal. And you've got that genuine shine there without trying to make that happen through a gloss varnish effect or something that isn't actually a true metallic. You're actually making it happen with the product itself.
It's the weird thing with metallics because you can't highlight them in the same way you highlight a matte colour. If you try and highlight them in the same way, it looks wrong. It looks like 3 different colours put on top of each other as opposed to one smooth transition. So actually being able to polish is probably the only way to get real highlights, a really good natural highlight finish. And that's because it is an actual metallic highlight finish. As opposed to, I used a dark silver, a mid silver, and a very light silver. Skips the requirement for NMM, which I don't know about you, but I get very tired trying to do NMM.
I'm doing a model at the minute with it, and it's
84 layers later, and you've done one greave.
Yeah.
I'm a meticulous hobbyist, and I take my time with things, but life is too short for NMM. Life's too short to even say it.
Yeah.
How do you make that sound? You can't make that sound. It doesn't work. Try to say it like It doesn't work. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you had some more questions for us, maybe?
Yeah. So you briefly touched on earlier. So just to reiterate, how many paints are there in the range in total at the minute, including your washes and your gems?
So there's 40 in the range at the moment. So that includes, that's 4 washes. So wash-wise, there's a black, a brown, a sepia, and a flesh tone. So that's the 4 washes. We have 8 gemstone colours, a couple of which you've managed to sample already with your lovely Terminator. And we've got 27 metallics. So that's a combination of like 7 silvers, 8 golds, several bronzes, coppers, you name it. That's all sorts of stuff. And then we have 1 thinner as well. So 40 in total thus far. There is more to come. We're a bit obsessed. We're a bit obsessed with this stuff, and we like shiny new products. We're basically a pair of magpies. So there will be more.
Yeah.
There will be more.
There's 40 different milk bottle lids, and that's how many we found so far. But yeah, there's some more down the line, especially the washers. I think people are crying out for those washers, and some of the colours that we tend to pick will be quite different.
Yeah, like I say, I know you've been around for a while, but you're starting to get noticed now. But I'm just glad I've noticed you in your early days of climbing that ladder.
Yeah.
Because I say they are game changing. One of the questions as well was these metallics and airbrushes. Was it an idea for them to be designed mainly for airbrushes, or was it the combination of airbrushes and the brush?
The options there for either, really. The reason why the thinner exists in the range is to give you that option of which route do you want to go down. So if you're brush painting with the paints, then you know, happy days. You could apply it straight out of the pot with the brush with absolutely no issues, as you've already sort of attested to. But also, if you want to use an airbrush, then go right ahead. We've got a metal thinner in the range. It's absolutely perfect to use for airbrushing. That being said, the thinner is also really great for brush painting as well. If you're going for really, really thin coats and you're building up, then by all means use the molten metal thinner with brush painting as well. It was a product that was primarily designed with the concept of, right, okay, this is going to work primarily for airbrush users, but through our own testing and hobbyists that we work with, it was just like, okay, right, this works great for airbrushing, but it works equally great for brush painting. So happy days. If you're picking up some darkstar paints, then basically pick yourself up a bottle of the thinners at the same time, and you'll not go far wrong whether you're airbrushing it or whether you're brush painting.
One of the really good uses with the thinners is actually you can, if you take our gemstone range, mix it with the thinners, you can make a metallic glaze. So you can then put that over a large surface area and completely change the colour, but still allow that original colour to come through. So again, something we don't really see people doing, but when they do, in fact, you saw it with the Necron that you saw at the expo. That was it. It was turning one of those gemstone colours into a metallic glaze and getting the craziest effects. And you imagine when you're doing like power weapons and things on models, one of the most frustrating things is trying to get something that's shiny over a smooth surface that looks electric and then you just end up drawing lightning bolts on it and going, whatever, I'm a kid again, it's fine. But using the thinner with the coloured with the gemstone range, you can get fantastic results.
Yeah,
Really,
you've just actually given me an idea, telling me you can use them as a glaze. One thing that I tend to struggle doing is elven metal. It's one of the ones where you either get it right or it just looks like you've watched it. Now you said that, I think I've got a recipe for a nice greeny elven metal.
The other problem I always used to have when I was trying to do that sort of technique is because my metallics would sort of go a bit stodgy from time to time. Then when you try and glaze, it gets caught in all these little bits of texture that you didn't even know were there. And then that completely changes the finished look. And what you want it to do is go maybe from dark blue through to faded out blue. And halfway along it goes, there's your mistake, and highlights it. So you stop doing it and just draw lightning bolts on and go, that'll do, that's fine. So yeah, have a play with the glazes. We'd be really curious to see how you find it.
I think I've got some elven weapons kicking around from Sigma and other stuff, actually.
From the first age of Middle Earth, that's when I have my elven weapons knocking around from.
Yeah, I've got some fingers from Kings of War that I can have a go at doing it on to do some like elven fantasy style metals. So I like that green tinge in the elven style metal, the greeny bluey.
Yeah,
tinge.
And if you thin it, you can actually layer multiple colours, so you can have a transitional colour as well. So you can have it going from I don't know, blue into green into yellow by really layering it up in lots of different glaze levels. So have some fun with it. You'll be amazed what you can do with it.
And then when I've done, I can polish it to get that nice shine.
Insane, right?
True elven metal.
Yeah, exactly.
True elven.
When you're making your own glazes as well, Scott, you know, with the thinner and the various different gemstones or whatever that is, going back to what you sort of said earlier about the capillary action nature of the washes and loving that, you know, using the thinner, which breaks down surface tension in the paint anyway, you're going to end up with that sort of capillary action through making your own glazes. So it's going to run into the recesses, doing it over a large surface area when historically, if you do that with a wash, you're going to get some form of blotchiness. There's going to be patches. No matter how hard you try, how equally you spread that product, there's going to be some form of differentiation in the finish. With something with the right amount of thinner in, it's going to break that surface tension off. You're going to get the runoff capillary action into the recesses. You've got your shades, you've got your midtones, and you've got your lights, all in a glaze that dries uniformly and evenly, which you don't get apart from that. So happy days, happy days.
So like we briefly touched on it, and I'll just touch on it a bit more in depth. So like your gem paints and like your gold metallics and everything, they're designed to be able to be mixed together to create these other blends and colours.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you can mix them. As I was saying earlier with metallics, one of the hardest things is to mix metallics and get a really good finish. These will mix, but I would hazard that you will never need to. There should be enough colours. There should be so many variants in silver and so many variants in gold, and they're also designed with a small enough gap between them that you can do, a single highlight, you can do 2 highlights, you can do 5 highlights, and you will see that the colours actually fit together. It's not just gold, silver, really bright silver. There's stages in between, and there's different types of silver that go with different gold. It's like you get green gold, red gold, yellow gold, brown gold. They're all completely different, but if they're used in the right order, you can get some fantastic effects. And
yeah.
Hopefully, I'd be surprised if you ever needed to mix a silver or mix a gold, but you absolutely can with these.
Yeah.
36 different metallic paints. You're going to be hard pressed not to find something that's going to fit or suit the application that you're wanting to achieve. I mean, if you look at all the other ranges that are available in the mainstream hobby market, you've got a couple of golds, you've got maybe a few silvers, 1 or 2 bronzes, 1 or 2 brasses, and that's pretty much it. Maybe a copper knocking around if you're lucky, and that is pretty much it. And so to go from sort of like maybe 8, 9 metallics in probably the most well-known range of hobby paints, then what we've done is scale that up to 40. So you're never going to be in a situation where you go, hang on a minute, what's gonna suit this? If you've got a full range of the darkstar paint set in front of you on your hobby desk, and you come in with whatever project that is, and you can't find a metallic that's already suiting what's up in here to make it happen on the hobby station, then get in touch with me and tell me what it is.
We'll make it a reality.
We'll make it, because I can't find anything that we don't already do. However, there's going to be more washes. There's always room for more paints, and yeah, so that's a challenge. Find something that we don't do that you need to happen, because we'll make it happen. But I think if you've got the full range there already, you're pretty much covered.
Yeah, that is literally, you've hit the nail on the head. That's half the reason why I want to get your full range, because looking on your website, I'm looking through going, if I've got these, I'm not going to want to mix paints. And I've got every grading of a gold, silver, bronze that I'm ever going to need. And like I said, the gaps between them, like you said, are that close together that you can do your tabletop highlighting, or you can do your competition piece highlighting with these with no trouble, which is the main reason.
Well, you've also, there's another massive advantage about having multiple different golds and brasses that they're separate enough that they're distinct, but they're close enough that they're not completely out there. So you take something like a Skaven army, where you want to batch paint it and you want to do a brown base coat and some different cloth. One of the ways that you can distinguish when you've got horde armies and things is actually with the metallics and with an accent colour, and by literally just going, this one will get this gold, this one will get this gold, this one will get this gold. You keep the uniform of it, which is they're all made of the same material, but they're at different stages in, they might be a bit more degraded or a bit more worn or a bit dirtier, or this one might be cleaner. So you can just simply, by having such a variety of different golds, you can really distinguish each model within an army a lot more effectively with very, very little effort.
Yeah, for anyone that's thinking of Bretonnian Knights, Warhammer the Old World,
if you want everyone every night in the exact same silver, no, it doesn't look right.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, no, I'll say I'm I am impressed with the amount, the volume of paints that you've curated that are different but not different, if the right way to put it.
Yeah.
You look at them and go, oh, they're all different silvers, but when you look at it closer with like a competition painter's eye or a commission painter's eye, you're like, actually, they're not too far apart from each other. You can see that'll go with that'll go with that, and like you say, you can use it to link armies together so it doesn't look uniform that you've used the one paint to paint your entire your army. You've got that variant to give that used and worn look to your armies, of whether it's sci-fi or fantasy or dungeon crawlers that you're playing, whatever. You've got that.
Even within the same model. So one of the things I always got really frustrated about was if I was doing like I did a lot of Dogs of War back. That's how long ago it was, but that was my fantasy army of choice, and they have a lot of plate armor. But then alongside the plate armor, they'll have buckles and clasps and daggers and things. And when you've got gold or silver, there's only so many combinations you can do to distinguish. But having multiple different of those colors means even within one model, you can distinguish between this belt buckle is a different material to this brooch, which is a different material to the chain, and you can really separate it out. And it's those little details that go from making a model look like a model to looking like a piece. It's really, really easy to do just with your palette selection.
Yeah, well, so I've managed. Like I said, I've got that Baruch and the bright steel.
Yeah,
and just using them two, and then adding the. Like I said, I've only got the 2 silvers, but when I use the wash, I've got 4 silvers.
Yeah,
that's how good the washes are.
Yeah, quickly adds up.
So yeah, like I said, I've got the 5 paints, and using the wash, I've now got 10 paints.
And that's before you go looking at your highlights as well. So this is what Hugh was saying at the beginning. You've basically got infinite combinations, because you can start with Baroque, you can wash it down, you can then bring it back up with Baroque, you can then go up to, pewter as a final highlight. But then you could even wash the pewter a slightly different colour, so you get a lighter tone on your, and you can just keep going with it.
Yeah. I mean, you can take that to a step even further, and then you're going into some really, really fine highlights, chipping whatever it might be with bright steel on top of that. But then you decide maybe you want to wash some of those down, maybe you don't. But then you want to buff some of those, and maybe you don't want to buff some of them. So you've got the washes, the paints, and the whole key part about that you can actually polish it as well, which adds a completely different dynamic to whether you do or you don't. And then the washes. So it's literally you could make as many stages or as processes as you want. The beauty of the range is it really can be as simple as I've got an airbrush or a brush, I'm going to base coat it, I'm going to wash it, and I'm going to bring it back up with the base coat. It could be as simple as that, or you could literally go to town and paint something with 86 different layers of buffs, highlights, chips, different washes, different combinations. It's all down to what the only limit is your imagination and how many paintbrushes you want to wash.
Yeah. Personally, I'd go as far to say that if anyone buys the full range, I don't think you'll ever want to look at another metallic again, because there's no need.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah. I'm not just going up with the five metallic, the gemstones, the 5 paints, 6 including the wash that you've given me. There's no, I don't see there's any. If you get the full set, there's no need to look at any other metallics out there.
Yeah, that's what we want people to basically understand. Really, is that once you've got that full box in front of you, which is going to be more in the future, but even now, once you've got that in front of you, that's going to be enough to see you through any project you can possibly conceive. And like I say, if you can find something where that's not where all the paints we currently have and all the combinations you could currently do with the washes and polishing, and there's something that isn't going to cover it, then just get in touch, and I'll gladly accept the challenge and create a product that going to fit the bill and add to the range, because at the moment, as far as we're concerned, is we're ticking pretty much all the boxes. All the feedback we get from people is very, very similar to exactly what you've been saying. Is, you know, is that they're really great paints. They fill a void in the hobby market that's been there before and that's now been closed by Darkstar, because we've got this fantastic range. There's more choice than you can shake a stick at, and you know, you're finding that with what, 5 paints and 1 wash.
Yeah.
So what's that going to look like to hobbyists when they've got 36 paints and 4 washes, with more on the way? There's literally something for every conceivable metallic need in the hobby. So yeah, prove me wrong.
Yeah, just go back a little. You said the paints come in just a box. It's not just a box, though, is it? It's a nice little fancy carry case.
Well, we don't like to blow.
You like that?
It comes in a very nice little carry case, and you know, there's 40 slots that are taken up by the paints, and there's 20 more slots as well. So that might give you an indication as to what might be coming in the future.
There you go. Trade. Big reveal.
I've
It's
just
going
said, well,
to the YouTube thumbnail. There's 20 more slots. There you go.
yeah, there we are. But yeah, it's also the nice size as well that will fit in most gaming bags as well. If you've got that space you want to take paints and to your local gaming club or like to do some painting, it's handy just to shove in your carry case. And like I say, at the minute it's got them extra slots for you to take some other paints along, but you'll soon fill them up with the
those
paint.
slots as well. Those slots as well will actually fit smaller models in. So if you were to put a Space Marine upside down in that slot, as long as it's not like, you know, sprawling massive arms, they drop in upside down, and then they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So it even works as a little carry case. It's got a little pouch that you can put brushes and tools and stuff in. It's great little kit.
You can fit a surprising amount of stuff in that case. I mean, the great thing with the 20 extra slots as it is you know, obviously you can have double up on your favourite paints, ones that you're going to run out of quicker. Things like the washes and the thinners that you're going to get through probably a fair bit quicker than the actual paints themselves. So, you know, stock up on those. You've got extra slots for that. Like Chris says, you can put certain miniatures in there and whatnot, but also, you know, the fuller it is, the cooler it looks to your mate. So you can take it down your FLGS, wow them with that, open it up. It's a bit like the briefcase in Pulp Fiction with Marcellus Wallace's soul. You know, open that up and get the golden glow. And then more importantly is then slam it down on the counter of your FLGS and say to the proprietor, we want to see this range of paints in our shop because we want to buy them and spread the good Darkstar word.
The golden glow is obviously coming from the fact that you've buffed all your minis, which is why they're actually shining.
Yeah, I got a question from Curlin 30k again. It says, is such a thing as a metallic titanium white possible, and then use it, watch the tint it?
There's 2 answers to that, and the answers are yes and no. Yes, it's possible, but as an old friend of mine said, when you're painting black, don't use black. When you're painting white, don't use white. You can't highlight white lighter than white.
No.
So the best way to do like a you know, white titanium sort of finish is like a really clean chrome, because it's off white, it's just below it, and that means that you can then still get your highlights from your buffing and from your polishing. Very few things you'll see around the world are actually pure white, or actually pure black. They're off black, they're off white. In theory, it's possible. It's something we have done some research into, but it inevitably ends up looking just like white, unfortunately.
Well,
that's where we're at.
Touching back on what was on about earlier, you could paint your model white and then use your thinner
metallic glaze
over the top, and you'll get a
absolutely
titanium white metallic.
Yeah.
So,
The best one would be, what's our brightest silver, Huey? You know the range.
Bright steel
Quite hot.
would be a good one.
Yeah.
If you make a glaze with bright steel, go in something that's been base coated, something like titanium white, and you're going to get some really nice soft glazes. Again, using the thinner, so it's got a capillary action. Go into the recesses. You've got a custom made, shade and wash all in one. It's not gonna pool and collect on the surfaces, because if anything's going to show up on a titanium white surface, it's going to be some form of patchy wash. So you really want that capillary action in that scenario. So use it with something like bright steel. You could even then, again, experiment with different colours. You could go down to maybe even things like pewter or even baroque, and just try out different glazes with those, and see how you get on. But yeah, again, with the volume of metallics that are available to try it with, you're going to find something that's going to fit the bill. But yeah, titanium white metallic is a tricky one.
Yeah.
So yeah, talking to your thinner, the thinner, what size bottle does that come in? Is it the same size as the paint pots, or do you do a larger bottle?
So 17 mil, same as all the paints. But yeah, it's the same size. But again, if that's a product that you're finding you're getting through more because you're doing lots of airbrush painting, or you just like to make a lot of glazes, then again, having the full set in that case, you've got lots of extra slots, so you can get extra thinners. And
Let's do a bigger bottle, Huey. Let's see if we can get a bigger bottle sorted. Because I think you've raised a really interesting question there, especially if you're doing airbrushing, especially if you're going to start doing lots of glazing. We'll sort it tomorrow. It's fine. We'll get one that by the end of next week. You're gonna have, and we're gonna put your face on the bottle just for raising the question.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's some of the it's some a little bug gripe of mine of people of companies going, here's our paints, here's a thinner, and then they make the thinner the same size as the paint bottle, and then you find every other week you're going back to buy the thinner again, because I do quite a bit of airbrushing because it speeds things up for me. I said, like, you thin it down quite a lot, and after about 3 or 4 sessions, you probably use one of them small bottles, which is another reason why I like the Vallejo, because they do the larger airbrush thinner.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying do a bottle that size, just a bottle that's a couple of times bigger than the bottle the paint, just to last that longer.
Yeah.
A little bit longer.
I mean,
it's normal hobbyist. It won't be an issue like your standard hobbyist who's going to be painting 1 or 2 armies and be thinning it down every now and then. But for someone like me that's going to be using it a lot, I'll go through them small bottles like every couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not a problem.
So,
We'll just do a big one. So I think something like probably 60 mil would be a good size to do a thinner in. It's going to be pretty much 3 times plus size of what you currently get. Most people tend to thin down that sort of ratio. Usually with thinner, like you're saying, you're getting through it sort of probably 3-4 times quicker than you would do the paint. So yeah, I think something probably like a 60 mil bottle, and maybe even a bigger one than that as well would be a good opportunity to offer the product in larger sizes, so you're not having to nip back and get the 17 mil bottle so frequent.
What you've just seen is our live product development process, where I say, hey, I think we should do that, and Huey has to think about it and go and make it happen. And it's a great process. It's, from my point of view, it's minimum input. I see shiny, I think that looks good, and then Huey has to do all the work. And it's a rough process at times, but there you go. In the flesh, live product development.
I prefer minimum input. It works well for me.
I'm going to go back to the drawing board with this titanium white now. I want to see if we can make it happen. My mind's already racing with it.
I'm on annual leave for the next couple of years, mate. It's fine.
Brilliant.
I'll product test it for you. That'll be fine.
Yeah, this is a dream team. It's happening.
Yeah. So one of the questions we've also touched on earlier about the like places people can buy them. So it's all like your Element Games and online and your own website. Have you got any more shows or conventions for the rest of this year you're going to, or so most of the big ones are out the way now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean the UK Games Expo was sort of the first show we took Darkstar to, because it's been, obviously like post-COVID and everything else. It was the first opportunity to really sort of spread our wings and run with it at a big show like that, which was great to see the response and the feedback that we got. In terms of shows later on in this year, we've not got anything penciled in yet for Darkstar, but that's not to say that we're not going to be at future shows. I mean, I think we'll certainly be back at the Games Expo next year, with a bigger and better stand, and potentially other shows in between as well. I mean, we do have there's representation from things like, I think I mentioned earlier in the video about the War Hub, which is the distributor that gets Darkstar out to retailers and FLGSs around the UK. So they tend to be at quite a lot of shows. So even if you can't see a Darkstar stand, if you see the War Hub, then that's a great opportunity for retailers and customers to sort of chat about the range. But without having gone to the UK Games Expo, it was really hard to say, well, what are we going to do in terms of volume of shows, because we didn't have anything to base any future sort of calendar footprint of shows on. But we were at the show in June. It was fantastic reception, fantastic response. So yeah, we will. To basically, short answer is yes, we will be at show. I mean, obviously, we are at shows anyway with retailers that are at shows that carry our product. So if you're going to places like, ChillCon or BritCon or Partisan or Warfare or Colours or Salute or all these sorts of shows, Aircon, you name it, there's going to be retailers there that have Darkstar as a product range within their own catalogue. But in terms of Darkstar representing itself, yes, we will be at more shows. Probably some of the bigger shows, because we want to make a really good impression, which is why we did UK Games Expo. So we'll definitely be there next year, and yeah, more besides that.
2024, the year of the shows, I think.
Yeah, so for me, like UK Games Expo was massive for me. I was there demoing for Mantic, and if it weren't for them getting me there for the whole weekend, because I do a few bits of like demoing the models and the games and stuff, and doing a few videos for them. If it weren't for them inviting me, I wouldn't have met the people I met, which now, since the expo has given me the opportunity to do these videos with people like yourself. I've got ones lined up with I've got Peachy due to come on. After I'm on holiday next week, and after that I'm trying to get K-Legs on to do. She wants to talk about her 24-hour streaming charity she's doing.
Mind, isn't it?
Yeah, for the mind. She wants to talk about that. So I want to get her on before she does that on the 25th, so she can raise awareness on the event and what it's for.
Yeah.
But yeah, like yourselves, for me, I want to do more of the shows next year. So I'll either be going as myself, doing videos and reviewing stuff, or if I'm lucky enough to get invited back with somebody else or another stand or something, then my aim is to do more of the bigger ones to try and promote myself, because this sort of stuff is what I want to do. I want to say the small you're on the verge of breaking the damn wall of the market, but I want to try and help the smaller, newer businesses break out into this hobbyverse that there is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a massive market out there. There's lots of different options. There's lots of different products, and yeah, exposure is a big thing for a lot of startups. So you doing this definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, thank you. I say it was. I mean, like, one of the things people I met was Mini Wargaming Dave, and that was just meeting him was enough to, when I came back, was right, I'm focusing on this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it was him talking to him that gave me the drive to actually have the change of the mindset of, oh, I want to do this, but is anybody going to be interested in what I want to do? To the mindset of, I want to do this, I'm going to do it, and I don't care if one person is interested in what I'm doing. If I reach one person, I reach one person. It's better than your product reaching that one person than reaching none.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So yeah, he motivated me in quite a way. He was half the reason I got back into the hobby about 6-7 years ago was through his YouTube channel, and just
he's an exciting character, I think, is Dave.
Yes, and the nice thing, as well meeting him was he's exactly the same off camera as he is on camera. It's not a show.
You think, yeah, he's the same person. he's a good laugh.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the first interview I've done where I've covered all my questions without asking the questions.
Oh well, that's because we're pros. We read through the questions and then thought, okay, how could we string these together and chat, and it will come out naturally, and it will sound more like a conversation. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I've got the questions in front of me just to double check that we haven't missed anything. But I think it just flows better, doesn't it? When there we go. Hughie got his too. It just flows better. We can have a genuine conversation about the product, as opposed to just throwing out a bunch of taglines. You've got your questions, and there's some really good questions in there. So yeah, hopefully it's been enjoyable for you as well.
Yeah, it has. So on a side note from the paints, have you got any model projects on that you're working on yourselves?
What am I working on? I'm working on building up the courage to actually get painting again. I took a long hiatus. One of the things when you're working in the industry is it's sort of like a chef. You tend to order takeaways. Cleaners have dirty houses. Like, you don't want to come home and do your work for fun. So I took a bit of a hiatus from the painting side of things, and then I sat down a few months ago to actually genuinely try and paint a model, and I looked at it and was like, I feel like I've used a potato. Like, it was so bad. And I just thought, I know all the theory, I know all the techniques, and I used to be able to do it. But no, my little project in the back of my mind is a bright green Tau army.
Oh no!
So it's going to be bold. It's not going to be camouflaged. It's going to be offensively bright.
Yeah, I'm unlike Chris. I've not taken a 1500-year sabbatical from the hobby. You're
doing a 2000-year sabbatical.
I'm currently working on my Legion army, Empire Legion army. So that's coming along quite nicely. Quite a bit of darkstar using that as well, primarily for a lot of different metallic chippings and weathering effects. I'll attempt to show you some of it. I don't think you'll be able to see much of it, but I'll see if we can. I don't think there's any light on in my display cabinet of this evening, but see if we might be able to say it's a bit dark. Let's see if there's a light that can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like occupier tank and whatnot. So there's a lot of metallic chipping, speeder bikes, etc.
So the correct response here is to say, it looks like you're giving it a really good try. That well done. And that riles him something chronic. It's great.
Oh wait, no, I don't rise to it anymore. I'm too old for this nonsense, Christopher.
I've got to say, I'm quite impressed by the stack of the boxes behind you as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem I've got, unfortunately.
He's right. That is only a bit of the problem he's got.
Yeah, that problem extends about 26 feet in either direction, going around the room. So yeah, I need help. Basically, send help.
At least we're doing organised boxes.
it Spartacus Blood and Sand that you ended up just trying to buy every expansion you could find in the UK? And I don't mean there's 3 expansions, therefore he bought 3. He just went, I'm buying every expansion from every store I can find because it's that rare.
So what Chris doesn't appreciate in this situation is that was a fantastic business move by myself, which generated the income to fund a lot of what we see behind us. So all I'm saying is, if you're out and about and you happen to find a load of the first Spartacus expansions, then buy them, sell them. You could have a problem this bad in the future.
Oh, dearie me. Lovely.
Yeah, I think that's wrapped things up nicely, and can't wait to see the rest of the stuff that you'll be bringing out in the future. And I'll put more hours in at work to save up to get this nice little set.
You won't regret it. It's going to be a good set. It should be. We're looking at getting it up for general sale. That Galaxy bundle, we're looking to get it up for general sale in the not too distant future. But we're having some custom cases made and stuff with the logos embossed on them and stuff. And they take a little while to produce, but hopefully this side of Christmas it'll be available.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of new sizes of thinner that we've got to fit into the release schedule as well, because people have been asking for that. So that might delay it slightly, but I think what's the phrase?
Do you see the dynamic? Do you see how he's now accepted it? That's his fate. He's going to go and make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm pushing back the full sets to 2028 now. We're just having 56 different thinner products released.
We're going to do an 18mm thinner, a 22mm thinner, a 37.5mm thinner. You'll have every variant you could possibly want. It'd be like ammunition, basically.
Tell you what, you can also do the people like Chris that paint once a year. You can have an 8mm thinner as well.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, you could just have a brush with it loaded in. You don't even need the bottle, and you just dab, and then off you go.
I'd say you could have one of those, Chris, but yours would dry out.
Hey, I was looking at my lovely brush set that's got my name misspelt on it. Someone got me an engraved box with it and spelt my surname incorrectly, and I was like, "It's the thought that counts. It really is the thought that counts." I've only known you 22 years. Still can't spell my surname right. It's not that complicated.
No. Right. So thank you for coming along and bearing all. And I know it's been.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, man.
So when you've expanded the range, we'll get you back on to talk more as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
And,
yeah, definitely.
Look forward to it.
And I'll keep in touch and keep passing you with the messages.
Yeah, no, keep in touch, mate. Keep in touch by all means. It's been good chatting. So let's keep that going. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Thank you.
Adios.
Have a good night, and thank you to everybody for watching. See you in a bit.
Toodaloo.